today's video we are going to look at what might just be the worst car ever added in Gran Turismo history, and honestly that's saying a lot considering some of the junk we've had so far in 2025. But before we get into the video, I'm trying to get this channel to 60,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you enjoy this video don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and turn your notifications on. When the Honda CRV was announced as coming to Gran Turismo 7 last month in its most recent content update, I think about 98% of the GT7 community made a collective sigh, and unfortunately the Honda CRV went down as perhaps one of the most hated cars in Gran Turismo history. And I think the main reason for this is, let's be honest, when it comes to 2025 we've already had the Toyota and of course the Mazda, and then the Honda comes along, and what makes its case even worse is the fact that it is a hybrid vehicle stuck with a CVT, which means for the rest of time it will be stuck in that way with an automatic gearbox and never to receive a gearbox change or engine swap. And whilst I will always advocate the fact that even your daily grocery getters have a place inside of Gran Turismo and always will, unfortunately the Honda is incredibly hard to defend, because let's be honest, all it would have taken would be a different model, something like a diesel variant, to really make it much more usable. So first of all, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats, and it doesn't all seem that bad on paper. It has a typical daily car PP rating, 381.02 to be precise, a displacement of 1993cc, four-wheel drive, which is always good, 181 brake horsepower, and it's naturally aspirated. It is a bit weighty at 1700 kg, but that's to be expected from this type of vehicle. However, where things start to look a bit bleak is when you see the price point of 46,000 credits. You can get a lot more bang for your buck for that price. Whilst it may be a little bit expensive for what it is, things might seem to look a bit better when you head into the customization options and realise that Polyphony really went to town with this thing, even including what seems to be a time attack / Pikes Peak body kit, and it also has the ability to have roll cages, grille changes, and well, even a wide body option, which does actually unlock a single extra part, which is more aggressive aero on the side of the car. So being realistic here, things do look promising, but unfortunately it's going to very quickly fall apart. It's at the next stage that you'll probably realise the Honda CRV basically follows in the footsteps of the Toyota CHR, in which the customization options are vast, varied, plentiful and absolutely bonkers, but you can never make any real use of them because it's stuck as a hybrid variant, meaning that you can make it look the part, but unfortunately when it comes to its track time and absolutely bonkers builds, it's just not there. But what really makes these CRVs stand out as even worse than something like the Toyota is the transmission you're stuck with. The CVT in this car pretty much has a mind of its own, and it's absolutely terrible for anything more than maybe cruising around with. So rant over for the transmission. The other thing I do need to touch on is the brakes themselves, because again this might just be the worst set of brakes I've ever seen in GT7. There's a huge delay in them, and it almost feels like it's not ever going to stop the CRV when it comes to pretty much any corner. They're just bad. Now, if you've been around on this channel for a while, you will know when it comes to my car reviews, I will try and be as fair as possible to almost any vehicle in the game, even something like a Unimog or even the Toyota. Surely there's something salvageable about the Honda, but unfortunately I would say not. I've driven it in every single shape or form, I've driven it in VR, and I just cannot find anything that's really redeemable about this thing. I guess at a push, if I had to say something nice, it's the fact that it is sort of an SUV crossover, but at least it's a four-wheel drive one and doesn't fall into the sort of front-wheel drive category, which I absolutely despise. But honestly, I am definitely not the target audience for this vehicle. I absolutely hate modern day car design, with vehicles getting bigger and bigger and pretty much everything getting transformed into an SUV type vehicle. And whilst yes, like I mentioned, at least this thing has four-wheel drive, unfortunately with the engine and hybrid system, gearbox and of course the brake brakes just being so bad, you never really get to make use of it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it was never going to be popular no matter what, especially considering that we are kind of back to back with these sort of meme type vehicles, and I feel like it's just been non-stop in 2025. But all it would have taken was just to simply change up the actual specific model that we're getting and not put in another hybrid variant. At least with something like the Mazda, when it comes to the CX-30, we got a non-hybrid variant, which meant we actually had some customizable potential there. Unfortunately, the CRV is never going to be that type of vehicle whilst ever it's stuck with a hybrid engine and a CVT transmission, and unfortunately, since Polyphony have never added gearbox swaps and of course engine swaps to those type of vehicles in game, it's always going to be stuck in this way, shape and form, and it really is unfortunate. See, the main issue is that EVs and hybrids have really found their place in GT7 yet. Whilst yes, some of them can be great for a quick lap blast, unfortunately in terms of their longevity and usability inside of Gran Turismo 7, it's incredibly limited. So the more of these type of vehicles we get currently, the more they're just going to be hated, and then hated even more. Even with its driving being so bad, its brakes being so bad and the transmission being so awful, at least if the CRV was given a sort of set place inside of Gran Turismo 7 and was made at least somewhat usable in longer, more meaningful races, it might not be as hated. So I guess when it comes to Gran Turismo logic, the CRV is pretty much the worst of the worst and gets the worst of everything about GT7 in one single package. Not only did it get hit with the ugly stick, unfortunately it's an SUV body style and of course is a hybrid with a CVT transmission, and unfortunately its use is incredibly limited. Okay, so it's settled. It certainly is never going to be the most usable vehicle in the world, but what about fun factor? Can you really change it up when it comes to the Honda CRV? Well, one thing I did make mention to is the ridiculous aero body kit that's available for this thing, which is very much in the theme of a Time Attack / Pikes Peak hill climb body kit. And well, it's very much akin to something that we saw with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And speaking of the Ioniq 5, at least when it came to that vehicle, whilst it did have fake exhaust and it was an electric vehicle, when it came to the aero body kit, considering the performance potential of that car, it did actually make a difference and gave it a real bit of fun factor. Once again, you probably guessed it, that the CRV is absolutely going to disappoint the player once again, a little bit like its Toyota counterpart, which once again features some pretty ridiculous aero. Unfortunately, it makes almost no difference because the vehicle itself features very limited upgrades, and well, the upgrades that you can put on make almost no difference to the overall speed and performance of the vehicle. Because yes, you probably guessed it, you are stuck with the exact same weak hybrid engine and that awful CVT transmission. Things like the top speed do raise slightly from about 100 miles per hour to about 110 to 115, but again, when it comes to this absolutely aggressive aero package, it's almost completely useless, considering most of the time you're not even hitting the speeds that you need to be hitting through a lot of the corners for it to take effect. Whilst it is certainly true that some of these more daily grocery type getter vehicles, or even some of the meme vehicles, can be kind of redeemed with some ridiculous engine swap down the line and of course performance upgrades and customization, the Honda just isn't one of them, and unfortunately that will lead me to say that it probably is the worst car that we've ever had added in Gran Turismo history, overtaking what was previously the worst for me, the Toyota CHR. I'm going to be straight up honest here, I do feel like it's a shame because it's clear that Polyphony actually put some time and effort into the different customization options for the Honda, a little bit like the Toyota, but whilst ever we don't have gearbox swaps and engine swaps for these types of hybrids in game, it's always going to be a completely pretty much useless addition to Gran Turismo. But hey, at least it has hydraulics, right? And with that, we conclude our review of the Honda CRV. Was I too harsh? Let me know in the comment section down below. I want to give a huge thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen now. Thank you for your continuous support, and if you do want to join it, it is massively appreciated and really does help the channel out between uploads. And honestly, thank you to all of you that have watched this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care, guys. Peace.